This is like, this sweater that I'm wearing is so old. I've had it since I was a freshman in college, which was 2007. So like 12 years or something. And I love it. It used to be like my go-to sweater like 12 years ago. But then I stopped wearing it. I just like didn't like it. Used to be longer and I just didn't like how it fit down here. So then this year I cut it. I like cropped it and now it's got like this frayed, distressed look to it, which I mean, stuff you can buy at the store for like lots of money. It looks distressed and I just did it myself. But now I wear it all the time because I like the fit of it better. Like if we're talking about body type, I kind of have a shorter torso and long legs. So I always feel like tops don't fit me the way that I want them to. I'm also like, I'm not flat chested, but I'm smaller up here. And though I'm heavier than I've ever been, I still don't have much of a belly. So like things, like I just don't need a whole lot going on up in my shirts or my sweaters. So I end up having to cut things, but I would really love to learn how to sew, and I think that's gonna be a goal for 2021. I mean, I have my grandmother's sewing machine. I just like literally don't know how to do the first thing about putting the thread in to actually make it work. So anyway, I'm kind of jumping ahead. Why was I even talking about this in the first place? It's really old though. I think one day I'm gonna be really sad when it just kind of unravels and falls apart. Hey guys, welcome to my video. I am kind of just wanting to wrap up the year. It's New Year's Eve today. I'm not sure when you're watching this, but it's New Year's Eve. 2020 is over and tomorrow starts a brand new year. No, I do not think that we'll wake up tomorrow and everything will magically be better. I don't think anyone actually believes that. But for me, it's the beginning of a new year, I feel hopeful, I feel promise, I feel optimistic, and I want to hold on to that. But also I want to look back on this year and just kind of see what I was up to. It was kind of a weird year, but you know what? I feel really lucky and feel really blessed and privileged that I had the year that I had, because I know it could have been a whole lot worse, and I know that it was a really, really upsetting year for so many people. And if you were negatively affected by this year, my heart goes out to you, and there's nothing I can say that would make that any better for you. So just know that I do acknowledge you. You're totally valid in feeling how you did about 2020. But yeah, I kind of just wanted to look back on the year and talk about a couple of different things. My intention was to like list off 20 things for 2020, but I only got to 15, so I'm not even gonna number them. They're not in any order whatsoever. So let's get to it. First, I want to talk about my favorite book of the year. I actually read it pretty early on, like in the springtime, but it is The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. I loved this book, and nothing I read after it beat it, and I kind of also want to read it again, so I might actually end up doing that. Just the premise of it is really empowering, and it's about people coming together for the greater good, and there's, trials and tribulations they have to overcome quite a bit, but it's a really cool group of people that have to come together, and I love the characters in this book so much. I'm a big character person. Like if I don't like the characters, it's really hard for me to care about anything else in the story. This was definitely my favorite book of 2020. Another thing that happened early on in 2020 was I got to meet Penn Badgley, who's an actor. He's most recently in the Netflix show You, and I was a huge Gossip Girl fan in high school when Gossip Girl was like actually on air, and that's where I originally know Penn Badgley from. I was obsessed with Gossip Girl, and so when my friend texted me, because she worked at the news station, and was like, hey, Penn Badgley's gonna be in the station, do you want to meet him? I was like, my like teenage self was just like, yes. Even though, I mean, he's just like any other person. He's just someone that we watch on TV. But it was actually a really cool experience because I got to see my best friend like in action at her work. Like she produced the news and I got to see behind the scenes of her in action producing the news. And that was like almost, I would say that was cooler than like the 30 seconds I had to meet Penn Badgley, who, by the way, was very nice and very sweet. One cool thing about that was at the time I had a sticker on the back of my phone that said, "Good things are happening," or no, "Good things are coming," which is hilarious, considering what this year turned out to be. But it said, you know, "Good things are coming." And so the person that had my phone was taking a picture of us and he could see what the sticker said. And so he was like, "Good things are coming."
Good things are coming.
And everyone around us just kind of like nervously laughed because they didn't understand why he was saying that. But I knew because it was my phone and I knew he was just reading my phone. So that was a fun little interaction. Another thing that happened in 2020 is that Animal Crossing came out for the Nintendo Switch, and I had never played an Animal Crossing game before in my life. Like, I didn't really know anything about it. I'd kind of seen people talk about it, and it didn't interest me, like, at all. But my nephew really wanted to get the game. So I was like, okay, you know, and at the time he and I were sharing a Switch. So I got the game for him and I decided I would play it too, just to see what it was like. And I became obsessed with it. It was like so much fun to play all of a sudden. I was not expecting to like it as much as I did. But yeah, Animal Crossing was definitely a highlight of my year. We had plenty of time to play it. So since, you know, we were social distancing and in lockdown for a period of time here in Phoenix, or in Arizona, I guess, we were in lockdown all of April and then the first 2 weeks of May. And then things kind of opened back up. Some things still stayed closed, like I think gyms and restaurants, though eventually restaurants opened back up. But for those 6 weeks where nothing was open except grocery stores, my other best friend, one of my childhood best friends, had a birthday, and it was her 30th birthday of all birthdays. So it was kind of sad that like we weren't able to have a big party, or I think she was originally wanting to like go to brunch with like her girls, and it was sad that we weren't able to do that. But what we did instead was we did a classic 2020 drive-by birthday, and since her parents live across the street from me, I didn't have to actually drive by. I just walked like down the street, still across the street from the house, and got to watch everyone else drive by. And my friend was like in her parents' driveway. And it was such a unique birthday experience to like see all of these people like drive. I mean, you drive to like get to someone's birthday anyway, but then to like just slow down for a minute and like say happy birthday and like honk, and there was music playing, and it makes me emotional because it was like, what a crazy experience to have for your birthday. And anytime I saw like videos online of like drive-by graduations or drive-by birthdays for like little kids or anything like that, it like seriously makes me emotional because despite everything going on, like we still tried to bring some normalcy and bring celebration to things. And anything that like brings people together makes me emotional. I'm legit tearing up right now thinking about it, but it was just really cool. And I'm grateful that like we were able to do it, that like at that moment, everyone that was involved was healthy and was able to actually do like a drive-by. I don't know. So piggybacking on that is my other childhood best friend that lives in Montana. She got pregnant this year, you know, and we did a Zoom baby shower. Like, I mean, I wouldn't have been able to go to her baby shower anyway if she had one like in person, because again, she lives in Montana. But it was just like by then everyone was doing Zoom things, and so we did a Zoom baby shower. So it was a cool experience that we were all able to come together to celebrate, you know, the pregnancy. And piggybacking on that again is another highlight of my 2020 is that this friend that I'm talking about had her baby, and she's just like the cutest baby in the whole world, and she's just such a light, and I'm so grateful. My friend sent me this ornament, and I told her, I was like, I'm not putting this away when I put my Christmas decorations. This is gonna stay up all year. But this was definitely a highlight. Like me and the friend that did the drive-by birthday, the three of us like were talking on Zoom while my friend was like in the hospital, not during labor, or I mean technically during labor, but not like while she was like actively in labor. And it was just really cool that we could all be connected even though we were distanced, which I mean would have been the case regardless of the state of the world, since she lives in Montana. Okay, I think that's it for the emotional stuff, but who knows with me, I am a Pisces. So another thing that I really liked about this year is that I have been painting more and more. I am someone that I love the action of painting. I love putting paint on canvas. I love it. I love the colors. But the thing is, I'm not like a detail, I'm not, what's it called? Like hyper realistic. I'm not even any realistic kind of painting. I'm very much just into abstract art. Like I just love it. And I know that abstract art kind of has a bad rap with some people because they're like, the argument is always like, oh, a kid could do that, or anyone could do that. And it's like, well, that's what makes abstract art so cool to me, is that, yeah, anyone can do abstract art. And I love it. So for me, I have been painting so much. I painted that back there. I'll show you a couple of things. I painted that, painted that, painted that, painted that. I guess I don't have to say I painted that for everyone. Also, these were pizza came on these, pizza cardboard. I was really in like a spiral phase for a little bit. I love this one. But yeah, so I've just felt inspired to paint, and it's fun, and I love it, and I love the meditative aspect of it, and just feeling in the moment. And so I'm hoping to do more of that in 2021. So I didn't do a whole lot of traveling this year, but I also don't do a whole lot of traveling most years. But I did drive up north to Prescott with my mom and my nephew one day to do a little hiking, and that was just a really great day for us. It was another one of those moments where I was able to just be like, wow, I have come so far, because not only was I able to do some hiking, we didn't hike like a ton, but not only was I able to do the hiking, but I was also able to do all of the driving up there, all of the driving back, which means my mom didn't have to do any of it. And I just remember when I couldn't drive at all because of my dizziness and how sick I was. And now I'm at a place where I'm able to do it, and it's not a big deal. It is still, like, I still get pretty worn out. Like, after a full day of, like, driving, hiking, and driving, I'm pretty worn out, but I don't have, like, the crash, and I'm, like, in bed for days. Like, that just doesn't happen anymore, and I'm just so grateful that I can just be aware of it, and I'm just so grateful. So I had that day, but then I also had a day with my best friend from high school, Sophia. She and I drove up to Flagstaff one day. Now, Sophia and I were kind of like in a pod because she actually broke her leg and her ankle and needed surgery, and spent a couple of nights at my house to recover because she didn't have anywhere else to go, and I wouldn't have wanted her to be anywhere else but my house so that I could take care of her. So we didn't have an option like to stay apart during that time. So she and I kind of became a, pandemic pod or whatever it's called. Because again, I don't go out and see people. I don't know that I talked about that in this video, or if I just thought about it. But for me, like having to stay home isn't a big deal because I'm very much an introvert and I don't really like being out and about with other people in big crowds or anything like that anyway. So like having to stay home and like not see people really wasn't hard for me to do. Though I understand that for some people it is really hard. And I don't know if like I was just trained because of all the years I spent sick where I physically could not leave my house. If I was just prepared for this year, I'm sure lots of you can relate to that, where it's just like, well, not much has changed because I'm not usually out and about anyway. So anyway, all of that to say, Sophia and I drove up to Flagstaff one day and did some hiking and had the craziest drive up the actual mountain to get to the hiking spot. The drive up the actual, like once you get to the mountain that you need to drive up, first of all, it's a road that's very windy. Second of all, it's so narrow. There's like no guardrails or anything. So if you're going up the mountain and someone is coming down the mountain, you are so close together. You're so close to the edge. They're so close to the side of the mountain. It was so scary. I cannot remember the last time I was more scared than that. And Sophia was driving and she was freaking out. She did a great job. She got us up there safely, but like she was clearly very anxious. And so it was like my job. I was like, I'm not allowed to freak out right now. Like I have to be the one who's grounded and like encouraging and positive. Meanwhile, on the inside, I'm like losing my mind. And like it got to the point where like the tips of my fingers were like starting to go like tingly, you know, when you're like real scared, real anxious, and like for me the tips of my fingers start to go. Oh, and I was like feeling a little nauseous, but we got up there and it's a beautiful hike and I highly recommend it if you're ever in Flagstaff, Arizona. But just be warned that the drive up is really scary. So something that I do regularly is dog sit. Like that's one of my side gigs. I've got like a handful of different clients that I dog sit for pretty regularly. And of course this year, with no one traveling or leaving their house, I lost out on quite a few. I lost out on a lot of money. Let's just be real. I lost out on a lot of money because I lost out on jobs, right? And it's okay. Like it's a side gig, so I was never like in danger of like not having a place to live. I'm very lucky in that regard. But it was also kind of a bummer because I really enjoy it. But I will say that towards the end of the year, I got to dog sit for a new family that I met through a friend. And I set aside, the timing was so perfect that I didn't have to be at my other job during the few days that I was there. The house itself was just like so full of like natural sunlight. They had a nice outdoor area to sit in. And so I really like just set the intention to use those few days to just completely shut, like I didn't go on social media. I didn't just sit and binge watch Netflix. I set the intention that I needed to make a decision about something, and I was going to use that time to just shut off all distraction and meditate as much as I could. Listen to one of my spiritual teachers that I enjoy. His name is Matt Kahn. I'll leave a link below. And my intention was to get an answer, like to get an answer for what I was seeking in that moment. And I did. Like I got it. I got the answer. And not to be like vague, but it was to figure out what my online personal business could be, and that I've been doing for the last 2 months basically. And it's been I got the answer and I started to put it in motion, and then it came to fruition. And like being able to see that has been really cool for me, to see that like I do have the power to make things happen in my life. You know, I don't have to be stagnant anymore, because I struggle with that on a personal level. And maybe I'll make a video all on its own about this, because also with this is that I don't know that I want to continue with this idea that I was originally very passionate about and that made me money. But once I started doing it, I was like, well, maybe there's something else that is better fitted for me. I don't know, I'm still kind of, I mean, I'm still doing the other thing, but I don't know, I'm just keeping my eyes and ears open. Maybe I'll always be searching, who knows. So kind of going along with that, I also quit my job, my retail job, somewhere that I'd been for 4 years. I think I talked about that in my Vlogmas a little bit, and it's just been a relief. It's been such a relief. It hasn't been perfect. I mean, there have been some things that I've noticed since quitting where I was like, but overall, anytime I think about it, I'm just so proud of myself for sticking to it and getting out of there and starting my own thing and feeling confident in myself that I can do something more. Not that working retail isn't enough, you know, not that that isn't a valid job, because it totally is. It's hard. Working retail is so hard, and it takes a strong person to do it. And don't ever let anyone talk down on retail workers, because they are essential. And they should deserve to be paid more. I'm not gonna rant about it, but I could. Like, if you've never worked retail, you don't get an opinion because working retail is so hard. Just like working in the food service industry, like, people really think that it's like the bottom of workers, but really, like, they do so much and really keep things going, you know? It's just like, anyway, I'm not gonna get into it. I'm just so grateful that I quit my job and that I'm doing okay. Okay, so another thing that I discovered, which wasn't something that started this year, it was just the first year that I actually put any energy into. TikTok. I love TikTok. I don't really make TikToks. I mean, I have made a couple. They were usually about my paintings. But I enjoy TikTok so much. I thought originally that TikTok was just like teenagers dancing to music. And there is a lot of that on TikTok. But you can also find some really, really cool, interesting people that have your specific interests. Or you can just watch like funny kids, you know, like I follow a couple of different pages of just like adorable toddlers. But I also follow really cool artists. I follow people that just have hilarious and real life stories, like this woman that her husband cheated on her with her mother. Yeah, but she's just hilarious, and just her talking about her journey, and she's encouraging. The other thing about TikTok, the grandmas on TikTok, oh my gosh, I follow 2 different grandmas, and it's just, I don't have any living grandparents anymore. I mean, I'm still connected to them even though they've passed away, but it's so like comforting to like get on TikTok and have these grandmas talking to you and just loving. It's gonna make me emotional. It's so wholesome. There's a lot of that on TikTok if you like look for it, you know, like once you get past the dancing teenagers, there's just some really cool people. There's also this guy that I follow who it's like we all had the same high school experience or something, because he does like these little skits about like experiences in high school, and I'm like, that 100% happened at my school. Like, those people went to my school, and it's just a skit, you know, he's making up these characters. I'm not explaining it well, but he's hilarious. I don't know. If you're not into it, that's cool, but I can easily lose like an hour scrolling through. Oh, I also started following a dentist, and I have learned a lot about dental hygiene just from this TikTok. And like, I used to rinse my mouth out after brushing my teeth, but it's better if you don't rinse your mouth out and you just like leave the toothpaste on your teeth as long as possible. Brilliant. Like, of course. There's just I'm all about the wholesome side of TikTok. I'm really grateful to have found TikTok when I did, because it gives me a source of joy that I can just tap into. But as you can see, I am a pretty emotional person that gets emotional over things pretty easily. And there are numerous times where I will just cry watching TikTok because it's so wholesome. And the last thing is this necklace that I'm wearing that I got for Christmas from my mom. I'm also wearing 2 other necklaces. What is my problem? But I got this necklace from my mom. Let's see if you can hear it. And it's called an angel collar. Like, you can call the angels with this. And if you watched any of my Vlogmas, you'll see that I like talked about how I really love angels. I'm connected to the angels. We all are connected to the angels, but I mean, if you believe in angels, of course. I don't want to impose anything on you. So it was just really special that my mom then went and got me like such a sentimental and thoughtful gift. And I just really, really love it. I like don't ever want to take it off. I even tried to sleep with it, but then it was like, it's kind of long, so I was afraid I was gonna like choke myself. But I really love it. It's so special to me. She also got me this sunrise ring. I don't know if you can see it. It's like mountains in the sunrise. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. She's like, I got it because I know you like to go walking when the sun is rising, and we live somewhere where there's mountains. So it's perfect. But yeah, I just had to talk about that because it's like my favorite thing. I just love it so much. So that's it. I mean, this is a long video. If you've made it this far, wow, thank you for coming along with me on this journey. 2020 was a crazy year. I'm not gonna even talk about it anymore because, I mean, if you're watching this, you lived through it, and that in and of itself is an accomplishment. So way to go, you, no matter what else went on, you made it. And now we're gonna step into a new year. We've, you know, nothing is like immediately gonna change, but that's okay. I'm going into the new year with curiosity. And I do feel hopeful. And I'm not gonna let anyone try and talk me out of that. There's so many doom and gloom people out there, and I just don't want to be a part of it. Not that it's, you know, good to just bury your head in the sand about things, but right now in this moment, I'm hopeful. I hope you're hopeful too. I hope you can find some curiosity for the coming year to keep you here with us. We want you here. And yeah, many blessings to all of you. I will see you in my next video. And that's it. All right, bye guys.